mid-morning, let's discuss impermanence. This is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. Welcome to Meditate Like a Jedi. This is the Lama you are looking for. This morning, we could chant and meditate and enjoy a lesson or two. But first, if you love Star Wars and you wish to meditate as transformatively as Princess Leia on Ajahn Kloss under the guidance of Luke Skywalker, be sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell. If at any point during this morning's live stream, let's try that again. If at any point during this live stream you have a question about Buddhist meditation or Buddhist philosophy or even chanting, there is no need to be bashful. Simply type your question in great detail in the chat window on the right-hand side of the screen. So again, I must resort to a diagram. Let's see here. Oh, it's over here. Sorry about that, kids. Let's find the diagram. Okay. So, if you were to chant 12 poems of the Tao Te Ching every night, you get through the entire 81 poems in a week. You get through it 100 times every 2 years, 1,000 times every 20 years. And in a relatively short period of time, you'd find patterns. You find that that unlike American philosophers, the author of the Tao Te Ching, Lao Tzu, did not believe that peace comes from the reconciliation or the balancing of yang and yin, but from always choosing yin. So if we are rigid and fearful and controlling, that's all about yang. When we are flexible and loving and laid back, that's yin. So if we look at impermanence fearfully, rigidly, in an attempt to control ourselves or others, we're on the path of yang, which will lead many places other than enlightenment. So how can we view impermanence in a way that's flexible and loving and laid back? We view impermanence not as something to fear or revile, but as a tool to help us to better and better let go. We do not cling to things because we believe they are permanent. That is a myth. We cling to things because that is our basic wiring, our fundamental survival imperative. That is rewarded by the dopamine-oriented reward cycle, is to rely on shoving and reaching and clinging to ensure we live long enough to rear children. That's the end game of our primary reward system. So there are people saying the only reason you experience those things is because you believe in a self, or because you believe things are permanent, or because you believe things are independent. No, this is older than belief. Belief, in terms of biology, is rather new. Belief requires both emotion and intellect to conceptualize and feel a way about a certain thing. The capacity to shove and reach and cling is older than our neocortex. It is the most ancient part of our central nervous system. So you cannot, and I repeat this, you cannot believe your way out of the three mental poisons. Fortunately, through the cunning use of our autonomic nervous system, we can free ourselves not from the presence of our most rudimentary survival impulses, but from their tyranny. So that although we might feel shovey or reachy or clingy, although we may be honest with ourselves, we do not give those impulses license to control our choices or our utterances or our deeds. So we're going to play with 4 exercises that name impermanence specifically. We're going to play with them in a phantasmagoric way using fantasy. But impermanence is not merely a, oh, what's the word? It begins with the letter C. It might come to me later. But impermanence is a very real thing. Anybody who's tried to eat an ice cream cone before it melts all over their hand has observed impermanence. Anyone who's watched a sunset or a sunrise has seen impermanence. That's the word I'm looking for. Abstraction. This is not abstraction. This is not a theoretical construct. It is part of every life. Everybody who's seen a caterpillar turn into a butterfly, or a kitten turn into a cat, or a cat turn into a corpse, has seen impermanence. Any ill-fated gardener, such as myself, who's seen a green plant turn brown, has seen impermanence. In an effort to wax poetic, with the changing of every season, we see the impermanence of a year. With the rising, the waxing and the waning of the moon, we see the impermanence of a month. With the rising and the setting of the sun, we see the impermanence of a day. And right now we can gingerly place our fingertips upon our upper chest. We could feel it swell. We could feel it sink. And within the arena of a breath, we see the impermanence of a moment. Perhaps that is why some would insist, ever-changing, when in all there is nothing permanent to grasp. Before we start our official practice, let's take a minute to deal with some housekeeping. But first, I have to adjust my climate. If you find value in my explanations, instructions, guided practices, and questions eagerly answered when typed in the chat window, then allow me to remind you that with your assistance, this channel could help support the next generation. Oopsie. This channel could help to support the next generation of nuns, monks, yogis, lamas, and even brick-and-mortar meditation centers, each replete with a resident teacher and their apprentice. If this speaks to you and you'd like to help out, even for as little as the cost of 1 cup of coffee a month, simply use your smartphone's camera to capture this QR code, or if you're old school, simply click one of the donation links in the description area below the video. we begin with an inner preliminary practice wherein we contemplate right view, the first fold of the Eightfold Path. Whoops, I'm incorrect here. This is an inner preliminary practice. We're going to do something different. We're going to train in empathy and enthusiasm through the chanting the recitations of bodhicitta and refuge. May I liberate all beings from the tyranny of hate and craving and clinging by relying on the Buddha's example, instructions, and students. May I liberate all beings from the tyranny of hate and craving and clinging by relying on the Buddha's example, instructions, and students. May I liberate all beings from the tyranny of hate and craving and clinging by relying on the Buddha's example, instructions, and students. Now it's time for the outer preliminary practice of right view, the first fold of the Eightfold Path. But first, as a preliminary practice, consider, if you will, this statue of two Buddhas sporting in tantric union. This could be described in Sanskrit as Vajrasattva Karma Mudra. This could be described in Tibetan as Dorje Sempa Yabyum, and in English as Diamond Mind Mother and Father. Now, this is important. The iconography of this yadam, or archetype of enlightenment, functions merely to organize the 8 figures of speech necessary for deeply transformative contemplations. That's it. We're going to begin by contemplating wisdom's dance of impermanence and interdependence. We're going to use the verb melt as a metaphor of impermanence, the contemplation of which can help us to leapfrog over our clinging tendencies. We're going to use absorption as a metaphor of interdependence, the contemplation of which could help us to leapfrog over our competitive tendencies. We're going to begin with the circumstantial. And let's chant. What could it look like if all loss was fully and impermanently melted into rainbow light that interdependently absorbed into this form? And now we turn our attention to the physical. What could it feel like if all forms was fully and impermanently melted into rainbow light that interdependently absorbed into this speech? We turn our attention now to the experience of the interpersonal, which is described or experienced through the practice of communication, both verbal and mental. What could it sound like if all speech was fully and impermanently melted into rainbow light that interdependently absorbed into this mind? We turn our attention now to the mental. And there's nothing mystical about the mind. Mind is simply that which perceives, emotes, intends, reasons, recalls, and imagines. What could it be like if all minds was fully and impermanently melted into rainbow light that interdependently absorbed into a vast empty void? We come now to our first of 2 meditations, awareness and letting go, which is known by many names, including Mahasandhi and Ati Yoga. As we breathe in, we give ourselves permission to notice the play of mind while silently and mentally reciting, notice this. As we exhale, we relax into mind's non-graspable nature while silently and mentally reciting, relaxing. If you've just joined me, welcome aboard. When you have questions about Buddhist meditation or Buddhist philosophy or even chanting, there is no need to be shy. Simply type your question in the chat window. So sit in a sustainable posture without slouching, if you can. Breathe from the lungs and diaphragm. Sit as tall as you can. let us bring the four bases of mindfulness into the path of love. This is known by many names, including Mantra Yoga or Maha Yoga. And I think it might be useful to explore the mantra's pronunciation before we explore its meaning. So let's do that right quick. Paste. Meaning, oopsie, that's interesting. Okay, meaning. Doubled. Look at that. So, do. Okay, let's see if we can fix that. Meaning. Okay. Pronunciation. Om like home. Ben like London's Big Ben. Like your ma or za like a cat's paw. Well, what rhymes with sot? Sot. Not sat. Sot. Soft A. Ot. Pot. Toe. Like, oopsie. Like your foot's toe. And whom like whom whom like and oopsie and owl's hoot. All right, that should do it. Now let's explore the meaning of the mantra. And we'll chant this bad boy. Om, I invoke the Benza time and like strength of Fasato, mind will trained in love and letting go. Supplicating with whom may love and letting go be mastered by all. And let's do some more chanting. As we chant the mantra, it could feel as if diamond rays were emitting from a thumbnail size horizontal six-syllable mantra rosary at our heart, lavishing all minds, communication, bodies, and circumstances with wisdom, love, health, and good fortune, centered and spontaneous. So, what is the key to transforming mere mantra recitation into mantra contemplation? Two things. Number one, during the out-breath, relax as best you can into the recitation of the mantra. Number two, during the inhalation, either A, play with one of wisdom's rhetorical questions, or B, play with one of love's intentions. This is one of those intentions. As we play with this mantra, we lovingly wish that all heart minds are now as wise as a Buddha's heart mind, symbolized by a one-syllable mantra such as Ah. Om Benza Zato Hung 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 Om Benza Zato Hung. Let us lovingly wish that each being's experience of the interpersonal was now as loving as a Buddha's communication, as a real or imagined Buddha's communication, symbolized by mantra. Om Benza Zato Hung 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 Om Benza Zato Hung. Let us lovingly wish that all bodies of all beings now enjoy the health depicted in tantric art as belonging to an archetype of enlightenment, also known as a yadam. Om Benza Zato Hung 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 Om Benza Zato Hung. Let us lovingly wish that all circumstances of all beings now be as fortunate as a Buddha's real or imagined paradise or pure land or Vati. Om Benza Zato Hung 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 O benza zato hung, o benza zato hung, o benza zato hung, o benza zato hung. We now continue with the middle ways dance of conventional and ultimate, known by many names. Such as Mahayoga. How odd is it that as we inhale, our circumstances could seem obviously apparent, and yet, as we relax into the recitation of our mantra, our exact same circumstances could now feel as if they were as non-graspable as a real or imagined paradise comprised only of light. O benza zato hung, o benza zato hung, o benza zato hung, o benza zato hung. O benza zato hung, o benza zato hung, o benza zato hung, o benza zato hung. O benza zato hung, o benza zato hung, o benza zato hung, o benza zato hung. O benza zato hung, o benza zato hung, o benza zato hung, o benza zato hung. How weird is it that as we breathe in, our bodies could feel downright sensual, and yet, as we relax into the recitation of the mantra, these exact same bodies could feel as if they were as non-graspable as an archetype of enlightenment or a yadam comprised only of light. O benza zato hung, o benza zato hung, o benza zato hung, o benza zato hung. O benza zato hung, o benza zato hung, o benza zato hung, o benza zato hung. O benza zato hung, o benza zato hung, o benza zato hung, o benza zato hung. O benza zato hung, o benza zato hung, o benza zato hung, o benza zato hung. How odd is it that as we inhale, our experience of the interpersonal could be rather resounding, and yet, as we relax into the recitation of this six-syllable mantra, this exact same communication could feel as if it was as non-graspable as a real or imagined mantra comprised only of light. O benza zato hung, o benza zato hung, o benza zato hung, o benza zato hung. O benza zato hung, o benza zato hung, o benza zato hung, o benza zato hung. O benza zato hung, o benza zato hung, o benza zato hung, o benza zato hung. O benza zato hung, o benza zato hung, o benza zato hung, o benza zato hung. And for our final contemplation this morning, how odd is it that as we breathe in, mind that perceives, emotes, intends, reasons, recalls, and imagines, its functions could appear so clearly as we breathe in, and yet, as we relax into the recitation of the six-syllable mantra, this exact same mind and its functions could feel as if they were as non-graspable as a syllable ah, imagined at the heart, comprised only of light. O benza zato hung, o benza zato hung, o benza zato hung, o benza zato hung. Omen za sato hung, omen za sato hung, omen za sato hung, omen za sato hung. Omen za sato hung, omen za sato hung, omen za sato hung, omen za sato hung. Omen za sato hung, omen za sato hung, omen za sato hung, omen za sato hung. And last we come to our second and final meditation, known as bliss and letting go, but also known as Anu Yoga. As we breathe in, we could feel the play of sensations as silently and mentally we recite, feeling this. As we exhale, we could relax into sensations' non-graspable nature as silently and mentally we recite, relaxing. the Deceiler practice with 4 chants. May I, like Diamond Mind, master the Eightfold Path as well as liberate all others. May all beings practice of kind communication, conduct, and calmness flow spontaneous and uncontrived. May each being take auspicious rebirth, master the Buddhist path, and then help all others do likewise. May everyone be free from stress, may everyone be happy. May no one be separated from the happiness. May everyone have balance from the tyranny of hating, craving, and clinging freed. If you feel I've earned it, please type something in the chat window. Give this live stream a thumbs up and share it on social media. In approximately 3 hours or so, I would very much like to return to lead this afternoon's meditation. Until then, may you and yours be happy and healthy. And if you are as geeky as me, this is the way.